Howdy there, Nancy Drew Clue crew. Welcome back to Nancy Drew Mobile Mysteries, Shadow Ranch. Time to start chapter number 7, A Message from Beyond. As the shock of seeing Dave wears off, a new fear emerges. What is Dave doing in this secret passage in the middle of the night, and what might he do to keep the secret from getting out? What are you doing? Nancy demands, trying desperately to keep the uncertainty out of her voice. Just had to grab a few things is all, Dave mumbles. Nancy looks around and realizes the passageway leads from the pump house, or she realizes the passageway from the pump house leads back into the ranch's basement. First you're wandering around with a rifle in the middle of nowhere, Nancy says. Now you're creeping around down here. You're up to something. I know it. Dave's eyes narrow dangerously, a flash of red-hot anger flashes across his face. After a long, quiet moment, his expression softens. He hunkers down on a footstool and gazes in the dark, lost in thought, until Nancy can't wait any longer. Tell me what's going on, Dave. All right, he sighs. Remember how I told you about Francis Humber? How we're related? Nancy nods as Dave continues. Well, that's true, but there's more to it. Stories about Dirk's treasure, those are true, too. What makes you think that? Nancy asks. Look, what I'm going to show you can't ever leave this room, you promise? Dave hands Nancy an old weathered piece of paper with the words "Under the Stairs" written on it. This was part of the last note Dirk wrote to Frances, Dave says somberly. Had it snuck to her the day she disappeared. At least that's how the family story goes. My grandma says it came one day in an old beat-up envelope not long after Frances passed on. Dave continues. I figure it's a clue about Dirk's treasure. That's what I've been looking for here. This is the only set of stairs anywhere on the ranch back in Dirk's day. I haven't found anything, but I can't give up. So all of that sneaking around you've been doing, Nancy says. Yup, Dave interrupts sheepishly. Just been down here trying to make sense of that letter without anyone else finding out about this. Is that why you were doing this at night? Dave nods his head. I knew about the secret passageway from my grandma. It was an old escape route in case of Indian attack. Nancy studies Dave's earnest expression thoughtfully and decides to believe his story when suddenly the pieces connect. Dave, Nancy announces, I think I know what you need to look for. How would you know? We need to find a green bottle. I don't get it, Dave says. Nancy responds. I found a pocket watch with the initials DV carved into the metal. Dirk's watch. It had a note inside which read, Green Bottle. That's why we need to look for a green bottle under the stairs. Together, they work quickly, rummaging around the layers of junk under the stairs until Nancy pulls out an ancient-looking clay bottle. Dave rushes over and they inspect the bottle together. Dave removes the stopper, but there's nothing to be found inside. Nancy holds the bottle up to the light, searching for clues. After half an hour of fruitless inspection, they give up. Wow, it can take them half an hour just looking at an old bottle? How big is this bottle? Dave drops down in a hapless heap at the foot of the stairs. He looks down at the small green bottle in his hand and heaves a long sigh. Thought we'd really come up with something, but I guess not. He lifts up his shirt to wipe the sweat off of his brow, and Nancy notices a tattoo of a banded snake with red triangular eyes curling up his chest. I never took you for the type to have a tattoo, Nancy says. Dave shifts uncomfortably. Truth is, I ain't. What does the design mean? You never saw that! He snaps curtly, pulling down his shirt. Obviously a touchy button, Nancy replies. Sorry about that. I guess that came off wrong, Dave apologizes. It was a mistake I made in my foolish youth. Oh, foolish youth. Like when you were 10? Dave smiles and tilts the bottle, blowing into the opening, producing a low, haunting note. At least it's good for something, he says, with a laugh, and he plays another long note. Suddenly, Nancy hears a loud rustle. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees a large brown blur heading directly for her. She takes an awkward step back, just as the shape crashes into Dave, who drops the bottle. Whoa there! Careful, boy, Dave says. Nancy looks up to see Chief playfully wagging his tail. It's Chief the dog, everybody. Chief the German Shepherd. He gives Nancy and Dave a puzzled look. He must have thought I was calling him, Dave explains, when suddenly his face falls. Oh no, the bottle! Together they look at the small pile of smashed pottery. Well, that's that, I guess, Dave says, scratching Chief behind the ear. We better clean up and call it a night. Nancy starts to collect the broken pieces when something catches her eye. A small, thin metal box sits among the green shards. Nancy holds the box up for Dave to see. It must have been baked into the bottom, Nancy surmises. With a considerable amount of struggle, it finally opens, and Nancy pulls out a yellowed piece of paper. Dave whispers, "It's some kind of map." He fingers a torn edge and his shoulders slump. It's just half of a map. All this trouble and just a useless half a map. Actually, Nancy offers, I think we have the other half. She explains about the old photo that Mariazzi had given her and the map they found behind it. Dave lets out a hoot. You have no idea how hard and long I've been looking for Dirk Valentine's treasure, Dave announces. Hot dog! He pulls Nancy into an excited embrace. Caught by surprise, she can't help but blush as Dave plants a kiss on her cheek. You and me are looking for treasure! Just then, Bess and George appear at the top of the stairs. Okay, Dave has kissed Nancy. Well, I thought he was going to do that. Apparently, the original book Nancy drew, Secret of Shadow Ranch, was written before Nancy, met Ned Nickerson, her boyfriend. Her official boyfriend appears later on in the original Nancy Drew series. At least in the original 1931 version of Shadow Ranch. But with the rewrite, apparently they put Ned back in, and it sort of made things awkward because she has like semi-romantic moments with Dave, as we saw just here. We heard a crash, George calls down, peering at Nancy, and we saw that you were gone. Who else is down there? Dave? Never mind that, Bess jumps in. I heard the word treasure. Oh yeah, Bess and George come in right after Dave kisses Nancy. Forgot to mention that. No way, Dave grumbles. I don't want this to be a whole big fuss with half of the ranch tagging along. I'm doing this on my own. Dave steps towards the stairs, but Nancy plants herself firmly in his way. Bess and George are not just my friends, Nancy says. They're smart and they're trustworthy, and if you want our part of the map, they're coming along too. Dave lets out a frustrated sigh. Ugh. Okay, fine, but we're doing this right. I'll set everything up so you all can get some rest and be ready to ride out come afternoon. After Dave quietly makes his way up the stairs, Bess gives Nancy a scandalized look. So, she smirks, just what were the two of you doing down there? Nancy rolls her eyes. Details in the morning, I promise, but for now, let's get to bed. George looks at her watch. Actually, it's almost 6 o'clock, so technically it is morning. Nancy relents and tells the girls about the secret passage and the green bottle.